Hey, this is brand new. Breaking news. Hunter Biden is under investigation by the FBI. It's been going on since 2019, so it's news to all of us, but Hunter and his lawyers have probably known about this for a long time. We are now, 10, 11 months into 2020. This started in 2019. What's the holdup? I don't think this is fair to America. Maybe not even fair to Hunter Biden. We all know he's done some pretty shady stuff, but maybe it wasn't against the law. Who knows? I think we deserved answers about this a long time ago. FBI? Friends of Biden International? What does that stand for anymore? Who remembers how they treated Hillary Clinton? They gave her a stern talking to, and that was pretty much it. This doesn't seem right. This does not seem right. We'll see what happens next. I wonder how Joe Biden feels about this. Sneaky Joe. Yeah, Sneaky Joe is what I'm going to call him for a little bit because, well, let's face it, he's elusive these days. He's not participating in press conferences, and whenever he does have a media appearance, they take good care of him. They don't want to press him. So I went back and really studied him. And you know what? The arrogance, the treachery, the lust for power, you can see it. Even in these safe environments, it comes through. I watched the 60 Minutes interview again. Now, he was coddled here. They were setting him up, treating him very gently. Oh, your opponent says this. What do you say about that? That kind of stuff. It's easy for any politician. But look carefully. And there's some interesting moments after all.
The president made the case at the Republican convention that your administration would be a Trojan horse for liberals, that AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren would actually be controlling policy, that this would become the most liberal administration in U.S. history.
He'd love to run against them, wouldn't he? Mr. President, you're running against Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a deep, steep, and successful record over a long time.
He's gloating so weirdly. And the question was about how the left might dictate his liberal agenda once he's in office. He skipped all that and just talked about running. You know why? A couple of reasons. He can't alienate the far left because ultimately he is working for them and he will be working for him should he get to the White House. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's the arrangement. AOC, imagine her calling the shots, setting the agenda. She has more clout, more moral authority right now in the Democratic Party than he does by a mile, by 100 miles. And she is an idiot. She is one of the most ignorant people you will ever meet in public life. And I think, quite frankly, I'm being too kind. You know, she chased Amazon, the most successful company in the history of the universe, out of her district. They wanted to set up their headquarters in her district. And she publicly pushed and waged a campaign to keep him out. And the day Jeff Bezos decided to go somewhere else, wow, she was overjoyed.
I think it's incredible. I mean, it shows that everyday Americans still have the power to organize and fight for their communities, and they can have more say in this country than the richest man in the world.
Wow. So the richest man in the world took tens of thousands of jobs with him. She had her moment. She had no idea what she was doing. She doesn't understand tax cuts. She doesn't understand tax breaks for corporations. None of that. And what a disgrace. But this is the kind of person, people like her as well, who will be calling the shots. And one of their passion projects, as you all know, is social justice and racial justice. And Joe suddenly is all about that.
You said we need some revolutionary institutional changes. Like what?
Well, for example, I think we have to fundamentally change the way in which we deal with institutional racism.
Come on, Joe. I mean, give us all a break. Seriously. You are 78 years old, in power for nearly a half century. You have never championed these issues. No matter what you put on your website, no matter what kind of speech you gave us about corn pop and your musings about Martin Luther King, this was never his issue, ever. In fact, he was on the opposite end of a lot of key issues at key moments. And, you know, when it comes to race, he doesn't know how to talk. So it's very interesting to me that now that he's rich, now that he is set for life, now that he has all the status in the world, now is when he virtue signals. Now is when he says something like, my running mate will be a female of color. And he's so desperate for power, he gave it to Kamala, who humiliated him on the debate stage. He will do anything the left tells him to do to attain power. That's how much he wants it. And really, right now, I don't know, maybe his freedom even depends on it. I mean, the forces seem to be closing in on him and his family. Remember this, when it comes to race, Joe has never known how to talk. So the left, they don't dig this guy. This is a marriage of convenience, and we know what happens to those. Here's a sample of Joe's thoughts on race.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh?
First, sort of mainstream African American, who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
He's a mess, and the far left has no interest in this guy, only as far as they can control him. If they can control him, which they can, yeah, they'll deal with him. He works for them. It's pretty wild. And, you know, it's not just goofy moments on the campaign trail where he got himself into trouble. Matters of policy, matters of substance. The crime bill that he championed in the 90s, you know, some on the far right said it wasn't tough enough. This is how Joe answered his critics about whether or not his bill was tough enough. All kinds of sarcasm here. Watch.
One, the death penalty. It provides 53 death penalty offenses. Weak as can be, you know? We do everything but hang people for jaywalking.
Arrogance, huh? You see that? Walking around, really, really full of himself. Been a powerful guy since he was 29 years old. And they say power corrupts. It really does. At least it makes you a guy with swagger that he doesn't rate. Remember when he ran for president? This is fascinating to me. He's already in his 40s. He already says he's a man of character, decent guy, and this is how he treats the voters.
I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the International Moot Court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Basically, everything he just said there was a lie, but I'm going to focus on one thing. He ultimately said he graduated in the top half of his law school class. Not true. He had to acknowledge so publicly, in addition to everything else that he said was wrong or lifted from somebody else. He was plagiarizing speeches, 76 out of 85. Now, he was confronted with the evidence back then. Back then, the media, they were stronger. Even on the left, they held politicians to account. And Joe was a gaffe machine, and this is how one reporter put it to him. Check it out.
You feel you're able to control, to put in the vernacular, your mouth, that you can think before you talk?
Well, I've been in this business for 15 years. I let my record of 15 years versus the transgression that you're referring to stand, and you all can make that judgment. I feel very capable of using my mouth in sync with my mind.
So, was that movie The Shining? Jack Nicholson, right? I mean, this is weird stuff. The only thing that's really changed, Joe has gotten older, so he seems nicer. You got to look at the video from the 80s and the 90s. Not a nice guy, not pleasant, thinks he's smarter than he is. And weird things like this happen all the time. So Joe sticks around, though, long enough, and he finally makes it. But he is surrounded by all kinds of baggage, China, Burisma, things that he's having trouble answering for. So the media, they're not asking him these questions, which is really wild. Just totally inexplicable in my book. But he is a compromised guy. Just ask Hunter Biden's business associate, Tony Bobulinski.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised. I just don't see, given the history here and the facts, how Joe can't be influenced in some manner based on the history that they have here with CFC and stuff like that. So as a citizen and an American taxpayer, I'm very, very concerned.
You know who else is concerned? Joe Biden himself. Joe Biden, he knows. He knows what he's been up to all these years. And I think deep down, he's ready for it to all come out. It's coming out whether he likes it or not. Joe, actually, back when he had the problems when he first ran for president, when he was lying about his academic record, when he was copying speeches, doing all kinds of things, and he had to drop out, didn't even make it to the primaries. Watch what he said about how life works out. It was true then, and I think it might still be true today.
Learn one thing since I've decided to run for president, and I assume one thing. Everything about me is going to come out in the public record.
Yeah, it's true, but it's kind of weird. Those who are in charge of the public record, the media, they're not putting it in the public record, which is working out to his advantage. But ultimately, I don't think he's going to make it. Let's review. Joe is the ultimate career politician. He got lucky when he was 29 years old, elected to the most exclusive club in the world, and he got to stay there. It's very hard to beat an incumbent, throw him out of office, and Delaware is a very small state. Joe is a below-average intellect. He is a below-average speaker. The thing that made him really special was getting to the Senate at the age of 29. That was such a long time ago, and being a career politician isn't really an in thing anymore. I want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, is a world-class talent. He did not need the presidency to make him rich, to make him famous. As John Voight said during the convention, he already had all of that before he went into politics. For decades, since before he was even old enough to be president, they were talking about Donald Trump as a future president of the United States. Make America great again, huh? I love that. All right, meanwhile, we got Joe Biden. This is how he used to show up with his dad, by the way, his late father, at an event in Delaware. Got a button that says, Joe Biden, U.S. Senator. And isn't that interesting? A hat that says, not America, not Delaware, but Joe. His first name, Joe. Now let's compare that to the hat wear of our president right now, huh? Make America great again? Joe. It's all about him. Who the heck goes around with a hat with their first name on it, by the way, huh? Isn't that a little odd? I mean, it just, can you imagine going to an event and saying, hi, can you give me money, please? Can you vote for me someday? Only politicians, huh? What a racket. All right, Joe. Good luck. I mean, I hope he has a nice life, but I don't think it's going to work out. I can't believe how stupid I look at this hat.